bite. It felt like just a splinter, a sharp prick at the end of Charlie's middle finger as she rummaged around the old boxes she'd found in the attic. She squeezed and she picked at it, but nothing came out. It was a single point of invisible irritation rather than something of any real consequence. Charlie ignored it at first, playing it off as a minor irritation, but the longer she left it, the worse it became. Within the hour, it began to itch, began to throb. She could feel something hard under the skin. The wound now red and inflamed, a violent yellow pus oozing from it every time she squeezed. Yet still, nothing came out. She spent the next few hours glued to her phone looking for answers, and she couldn't go to the doctor for just a splinter. But fuck did it hurt. Reddit, WebMD, random forums and advice pages. She flicked through them all, but nothing came up. She was starting to feel feverish at this point, and the last thing she wanted to do was drive to the hospital in this state. She tried calling her parents, tried calling her friends, but to no avail. Of course, everyone was busy at a time like this. All she could think to do was wrap it up in a cloth, keep the pressure on, and try to sleep. She downed a couple of painkillers and made her way upstairs, crashing onto her bed and curling up into a ball, forcing herself to drift off. She couldn't have been asleep for long, because she woke up and she felt like her hand was on fire, felt like it had a mind of its own as she could feel her heartbeat throughout her arm. Tears flooded from her eyes as she squeezed onto her hand with all her might. It felt like it was turning to stone, yet her skin crawled. She rolled over and reached for her phone, her good hand grasping at the bedside table, only to stop and stare. Its bulbous, red-streaked abdomen bobbed up and down as 8 long, hairy legs stretched out and carried itself along the top of the bedside table and onto her phone. Her eyes widened with panic as she stared at the grotesque creature, its extended mandibles clicking with an almost lustful hunger as its 100 beaded eyes focused their gaze. Her screams would have fractured the very heavens if fear hadn't stolen them first, as a coursing pain shot throughout her arm. Looking down, she began to tear at her makeshift bandage. She could see how much her arm had swollen, see her arm moving beneath the skin. Frantically, she tore at the cloth until finally, once liberated from it, she noticed, within the small prick at the end of her finger, a single, thin hair jutted out, as if in slow motion she watched another push its way from the wound. Then another. No, not hairs. Fuck, no, this was not hairs. She screamed in terror as the burning sensation once more sparked throughout her, as her arm began to pulse, as the wound began to open, and the first of the creature's young birthed itself to the world. It was slow at first. One after another, they forced their way out of the growing opening at the tip of her finger, but soon it became a cascade. Fighting to break free of their fleshy cocoon, they began to rip and tear at every conceivable point across Charlie's arm as thousands of the first child's siblings sought to make their way out. She writhed, she screamed, her arm flowing with a mixture of pus and blood as each new creature tore at her skin and scuttled across every inch of her body, their tiny, razor-sharp fangs tearing at her flesh and embracing their first meal. For 3 hours they swarmed. For 3 days they feasted, and for 3 weeks they sheltered within the cavernous remains of Charlie. For 3 months did her body lay there before it was found. Bone and scraps, woven together in the finest silk webs.